Let's jump in. So Amit and Julian are going to hop into the session here. Hey, Julian.
Hello, Chip. Hello,
Yeah.
all together.
We did a prep session the other day with Julian, and he was literally on the train with a mask on, and we were going through the session. So Amit, welcome. Look, I'm going to let you guys take it from here, and I will step out, and I'll be back in for when we'll do some Q&A.
Absolutely. So a couple of things. What Julian and I planned to do was talk a little bit about the ecosystem, but really get down to how do we operationalize ecosystems. And this is especially important given all the ecosystem news that we've been hearing in the last couple of weeks and months. So if we can bring up the slides very quickly. Thank you. So if you look at the ecosystem economy today, a very interesting paper came out of McKinsey just on September 11th this month. And this talked about the importance of ecosystem 2.0. And in this case, the world's top 10 companies are all networks in themselves or ecosystems in themselves. But there's a place for every company to actually participate or even orchestrate their own ecosystems. And if they're not doing so, it is at their peril, right? And sizing this up, all network of networks could add close to $60 trillion in the network economy. This is huge. And I was stepping back and seeing, why is this so huge? And that's fundamentally because of insight number one, that a massive tech renewal is happening, largely because of 5G and cloud. If you think of how agriculture is changing with 5G coming in and automating how farming is done, automotive companies, we're working with some amazing projects with Wipro, for example, where connected car initiatives, industrial zones being created, industrial clouds being created by many automotive companies. So massive tech renewal is happening. And when you think of renewing the entire economy with 5G, that's why this is this big. And as a result, the telcos have a new role to play. And especially when we are talking about telecom and 5G, it is no longer the walled garden. It's no longer about hoarding the customers and then saying you will buy all the services that I provide. It's really the reverse of it. Telco is now the platform. They are the OEM. And as a result, the MVNOs, mobile virtual network operators, are coming in on top of the telcos offering their services. So it's a very, very interesting transition of telecom providers from operating like walled gardens more to an open network where they're participating and kind of creating and blooming 1,000 flowers on top of their 5G infrastructures. It's a massive change in culture, massive change in opportunity. And as a result, we are seeing some pretty big shifts. So already if you think about org change and how to put this in practice, behaving like a platform in an open ecosystem is kind of the key insight number two, if you were to take one away from this. The third one in operationalizing this is not just 5G, it is literally plugging into an ecosystem, which means participating in ecosystems that you may yourself not own. So your ecosystem strategy in operationalizing it, often people think about, hey, I have to launch my partner program. No, it could begin with something as simple as, let me participate in the most important partner programs out there. Just the change in mindset, the outside in, creates the ease of actually flowing into somebody else's ecosystem. For example, what would it take 5G providers today to play into massive ecosystems that the hyperscalers are driving, or the massive personal networks and ecosystems that the SIs are driving? And that's called plugging in. And sorry to use the word plug-in, there's a pun intended there. While you're on 5G and Wi-Fi, the plugs are outdated, of course. Insight number four is if we really think about going far with an ecosystem, business to business, business to consumer, and Julian has a very interesting point of view. I won't steal his thunder, but we are here to say that move over B2B, partner to partner is here. Partner to partner is how modern services and economy will be delivered. If you talk about the $60 trillion in the integrated network economy, it will be delivered partner to partner. And that's a massive insight. So if your solution plans and if your sales plans, as you're operationalizing them, don't include partner-to-partner components, and they are not by design multi-partner, multi-partner solutions, multi-partner sales plans, multi-partner opportunities, you're missing a trick in the next integrated network economy. So essential idea here is think about that platforming, think about opening up as an ecosystem. But what it means in operationalizing is actually putting together joint solutions that include more than 2 partners, that includes joint sales and solutions that are multi-partner by design. And then this brings me to business plans. As you know, it's very, very hard to hold yourself accountable. It's easiest probably to hold yourself accountable, and then to your immediate team, and then to some lesser extent, a larger company. But imagine now trying to orchestrate or coordinate across companies and many companies at the same time. And we need new tools to drive accountability. We need new tools to drive trust, but with verification. Because partner plans are written, but they are not worth the dime they're actually sent in. So, and lastly, as a result, there are a lot of joint solutions that will be created. And when you participate in other people's marketplaces, they are headless marketplaces. So with that in mind, I want to bring my esteemed panelist, Julian, to the floor. So if you can move to the slide with Julian, please. Hey, Julian, welcome to the discussion. Sorry, one slide back. My apologies for that. This is a real example of companies coming together in an ecosystem. It is your customers, your partners, all of them together in a shared ecosystem, combining IT and OT stack. This is what the messy modern reality looks like. But this can be organized. And that complexity, that ability to kind of put people together and put teams together will actually deliver complete solutions. So I know Julian has worked a lot on delivering such an ecosystem to market for many companies, operationalizing it with his tools, such as the Ecosystemizer. So I want to place the problem or the opportunity here. So if you are a company like, let's say, Ericsson, who's speaking, Eugene is speaking later, or Verizon, or even Siemens, and you're in this 5G IoT cloud ecosystem today, how do you really sort this thing out? How do you actually, put a plan or a framework in place to operationalize such an ecosystem? Julian?
Great, Amit. First of all, thank you very much for this introduction. Also, altogether, really great to be here. Today is kind of my spread the word day because I'm currently in Switzerland with really bad weather right now, but I just had a master class because it's 5 p.m. here in Switzerland. Also 2 days with participants from all industries, talking and discussing about ecosystems and applying also the concepts you already see here. But before we come to that, I have to agree absolutely to what you said with your 6 points, and also the famous 60 trillion or 30% of world economy, which is driven by ecosystems. And you here in this community as 5G experts or 5G companies or part of the 5G company, I think, economy, I think you really have the chance to play a significant role in future ecosystems because you are actually with 5G in all industries. That's first of all, maybe first core message. And secondly, you are also in all life areas if you have the human perspective, which I will address in a minute. So once again, that having said as an add-on comment also to confirm so your 6 thesis. So what I have done in the last 3.5 years when I started the topic of ecosystems is interviewing a bunch of people, because my first contact with ecosystems was on a CEO circle, which I did with some consultants, where there was one consultant of an insurance company who was saying it's so difficult and so complex to break it down from a buzzword level, from product to solution to ecosystems. How can I do that? And that was actually the opinion of many CEOs. So I saw there's really a need of research and a need for structuring the world for the next 10, 15, 20 years for the ecosystem era. So that's what we did, and what you can see on the left side. So we did a lot of research, so almost with 1,000 people, CDOs, CEOs, startup entrepreneurs, but also investors. We talked, and if we bring it to just one formula, all what we found out, then you see it in the middle of this slide. It's the paradigm ecosystem to human, what all of them told us, which means we won't have in the future this clear segregation of B2B and B2C anymore. Instead of that, we will have the focus on human problems and on human needs. That's the one thing. And the other thing is that more and more parts of offerings, of the portfolio offerings of companies will be established, will be created, will be operated within ecosystems. And both together brings me to the formula ecosystem to human. Having an example, you see it on the right side here on the slide with Siemens. Siemens, of course, is a classical traditional B2B company, but already have started some IoT and industrial 4.0 platforms, for instance, MindSphere. So starting the change from classical B2B products to ecosystems. Of course, in that case, first of all, primarily focused to machine engineering companies and B2B focus, but still you switch the B to an E. So you have on the one hand, at least parts of the portfolio where you create ecosystems or bring your portfolio into ecosystems. The other part is maybe the even major change. It's from the B and the C to the human. Of course, Siemens is not a B2C company, but with its purpose, ingenuity for life, it's actually focusing on human needs on a very high level. But they break it also down in terms of smart cities, for instance, which is then closer to the human. And instead of having efficient generators, efficient trains or high quality trains, they try to create offerings for our future life within smart cities. And then you have the connection also to the human and to all other companies, such as an Adidas, for example, who brings the consumer with its data and with its lifestyle into the smart city, which is the core strategy of Adidas, being present in the 10, 15 mega cities, which are in the future, which will be all smart cities. So having said that, it's just, I don't want to say that Siemens will be a B2C company or a human company in the next few years, but the focus and the holistic focus will be more human driven, even for traditional players. And that's very important also for you with the 5G as a technology, which will affect all areas of life, whether it is mobility, whether it is healthcare, whether it is entertainment, etc. So maybe that as an introduction. So key message, B2B, B2C to E2H as the first message of our research. If we go further to the second slide, and here you have a lot of points, so I will try to bring it down on a appropriate level to understand. Second message is, as I said some minutes ago, ecosystems, and you all know it, it's very complex. So if you ask 10 people in a room, you get 12 opinions in terms of how to approach it, definitorial things, etc., where you don't have a common mindset. So that's why my recommendation is, first of all, to structure the way to approach ecosystem business models into a process, first of all, and to apply tools and tool sets to get a common language within a room, because that's obviously and often the case when I work with companies together, that first of all, that there is no common understanding where to go, where to positioning, and which kind of offerings you bring into ecosystems. And that's what I think is really a lack of in not only huge corporations, but also in smaller ones. So having said that, my recommendation, and that's not really rocket science, is to analyze your company with an ecosystem perspective and to apply these 4 phases of activation, understand, design, implement, and then to break it down and to start to think about how far are you with your company, within your company, with this ecosystem to human thing. Yeah? Is it already established is it already known? Is it already part of your portfolio, but also of your management attitude? And of course, what are the drivers and dynamics within your ecosystem environment? And then you start to have to analyze what's going around, who is your competitor, who is your cooperation partner, that's the famous competition thing, which is part of ecosystems. Sometimes you cooperate, sometimes you compete, even if you're in the same industrial segment. And you need also all the other things you have there. You can analyze them, and of course, then the major thing is then to design your portfolio and to design and to define and design your future role within ecosystems. And at the end of the day, of course, you have to implement it, but maybe one other number, apart from the 60 million, which is the 60 trillion, which is the market size, also, we also have to cite also BCG in that context. It's not only McKinsey who's doing a good job there, but also BCG, who actually found out that if you analyze use cases of ecosystems, then they analyzed the success factors, and they said it's 85% of the companies of the ecosystem of the ecosystem business models who fail are not due to implementation, which is often the assumption that, okay, we know strategy, but we cannot implement, but it's already the way around. So it's just 15%, which is the implementation. I'm not saying implementation is simple and it's very easy, but I think at this point of time, it's really the strategy, it's really the analysis, it's really the setup, which is really crucial for implementing ecosystem. And that's why we developed a tool set, and you can see some just of the tools. I will flip in just 1 minute in the next slide to one of the tools, but maybe here to say just a couple of words about the tools. So you see the paradigm, but you see a bunch of tools which help you to go through this process, because that's my experience that it's really difficult to structure the world in this ecosystem thinking and ecosystem structuring things. So you need strategies, you need options, you need canvases and other tools which help you to go through this process. And I would like to go just in the last minute so that we still have
Julian, one quick thing. These tools are available on ecosystemizer.com. Is that
true?
right?
First of all, they are not all of them, because we are still in kind of applied research. So we have tested them in workshops and with also with, of course, in consulting projects. But some of them are already available. Others will be available in the next few months. And I'm writing also a management handbook, which will be published probably in the beginning of 2021, where you can read all of that. But you can actually get snapshots also on ecosystemizer.com. That's true. Thank you for adding that, Amit. But let's go maybe to make it a little bit more concrete, and I will just snap into one of the tools. Maybe you can just click one step further, because what you can see here is like our famous ecosystem strategy map, which is which breaks down the ecosystem to human paradigm. You can see in the center, and that's important. In the center, we see always the human being. That's important. So we don't. So sometimes, of course, your customers are business customers, but we say, at the beginning, you have to start what is actually the need of the human, and that's why he's in the center. And then you have 10 life areas from mobility, health, etc. So I don't go into the detail from these, but what I can tell you, we have tested them. We have actually, they are not mutually exclusive, but they are collectively exhaustive. So you can actually assort everything into it and then work with it. That's one part. That's the human part of the paradigm of this tool. And the other part is, and that's really new in the ecosystem world, and that's not something so new for you, but still we put it into one model, that are new roles. We have the orchestrator, but the orchestrator, which is orchestrating consumer needs, which are obviously, here's the example in mobility, Google Maps, who is telling us how to get from A to B in the best way and with the best best mode of transportation. So it's not just a platform. That's important. So the platform is the transaction engine, but the orchestrator is orchestrating human needs and the partners who are actually implementing or realizing. That's why we call them realizer, these human needs. For instance, Volkswagen or railway companies or public transportation companies, who in our terminology are the realizers for human needs. And then you have this outer ring, which is the enablers, which is then the B2B ring, where you have now 5G companies, telco companies, but also software companies. And you can imagine SAP or others are enabler in all life areas, which makes them into a very interesting position. Also the telcos as well. And so now you can think about, okay, does it make sense to stick into one life area, as maybe in Germany, a Deutsche Telekom, biggest telco company in Germany, who's actually addressing mobility with autonomous driving and healthcare very further than other life areas with 5G, which they haven't done in past. And of course, so you can make that as a strategic chess game board to map trends, to map competitors, and to work with that. That would be now too much for this point of time to explain all of that, but I just wanted to give you a snapshot, and as a last ultimate remark, as a key message, that it's really important to have to break it down into this holistic way. Even if you stay enabler, stay B2B, it's important to think about what is your customer, what drives your customer, and then the customer of the customer, to be a better, to build better ecosystem offerings together. And I think this is the future. So that would be my part. Thank you so much for letting me here talk to you.
Thank you, Julian. What a fantastic framework. So if we really think about ecosystem to human, it is about operationalizing partner to partner. Maybe one question from my side, and then why don't we open it up to the audience for asking more questions. I saw that you could take these strategic roles of orchestrator, realizer, or enabler. Could you say that a company can play multiple roles in different ecosystems, taking different positions? Are there some good examples of that from your research?
Of course. I mean, there are definitely, let's just take the big tech players. And that's very interesting because, of course, on the one hand, they are role model. On the other hand, actually, they are so far in terms of financial resources, far away from some other companies. But let's take Amazon. Amazon started as an orchestrator at the beginning, as a bookstore and entertainment orchestrator in entertainment, and then, of course, expanded as in consumption in the other life area, also as an orchestrator, but then also producing batteries, for instance, because they detect, okay, batteries is a low interest product, so we can do it white label, so we become realizer because we do that with partners. And with Amazon Web Services, we are now in the enabler positioning, supporting B2B companies with cloud, but also with consulting and IT services, to be also the enabler, and so to make also the whole one whole life area, in that case the life area of work, to make it end to end. So that's just one example, but you have even many more. That's just one example, maybe, which is interesting. When Ola Källenius, the Mercedes CEO, was telling in Consumer Electronics Show 2018, I think. Our aim is, if you get out of a car, you should be healthier than if you step into it, which is, I think, a very good saying. So, of course, that's kind of the idea of addressing another life area like healthcare with partners. So the ecosystem thought, of course, to put sensors into the car, and maybe also to offer medical advice in this autonomous driving era with telemedicine. So this is one thing where I actually switch life areas and even sometimes positioning, and that will come. And we have many, many more examples which are so far just starting, and I think we will see really, really many more. And that's why everybody has to see where to go and also where not to go, because the crucial thing is also that you have more options than in any time of business life, but you also have to find the right positioning, the right portfolio, and the right offering.
Are there, Chip, I want to hand over to you. If there are any questions from the audience that we can take as a panel?
So actually there are, and if anyone actually wants to raise I see Andrew Ewing has raised his hand, but maybe it's just a leftover. If anybody wants to raise their hand, happy to open. Okay, that shut down. Happy to open up your mic. But we had interesting question from Vladimir, who says, let's assume that there are several strong players in the market already. When your company has just started building the ecosystem, how do you prevent it from being copied by other strong players in the market?
Of course, once again, it's a good question, because I mean, you have this in the same case without ecosystems, with just service and product offering. So first of all, crucial thing about ecosystems is data. That is it. That is actually the engine of all ecosystems, to know human needs or business needs, whether you are an enabler, you're an orchestrator, or a realizer. So we have to start building up proprietary IP knowledge about your customers, whether it is B2B or B2C, whether it is human or enterprises. So that's maybe one point. The other one is, of course, you have to think about then cooperate or compete. Yeah, of course, you can also turn in your parts of the ecosystem in bigger, better ecosystems, or you go into the niche where the big players are not having no chance. Maybe one example to make it concrete. I was working together also with an telco technology company who was actually trying to set up a mobility ecosystem in one European capital against Uber, against the other players. They were saying our unfair advantage is we are local, we have the contact to local authorities, and we are the good ones. Let's call it like this. And so this is their unfair advantage. And if they really can leverage that, then they can be better than the big tech players who are operating worldwide and trying to scale just city by city, but on a more high level. So this is actually, you have to decide whether which option it's suitable for you. Just maybe 2 comments, and I can tell you some more, but we don't have the time. But I think that can be maybe the 2 major advices I would say from my practical experience working together with companies.
I would say speed. I think being in an ecosystem is also about speed of serving customers and kind of aggregating more customers across different adjacencies that you get to market with an ecosystem. Typically, companies that get the network effects are the companies that move fast. That's really important.
So maybe one other question, Julian. So this is interesting. Any thinking on the need to automate service delivery collaboration using ITIL or other service delivery models? I'm not sure.
ITIL, yeah.
ITIL, yeah.
Yeah, I can take it. So there is also another comment there that talks about simplifications, and we all talked about, you know, how the modern cloud world through microservices and APIs are getting simpler to do. Like companies like WorkSpan would not exist if we are orchestrating an ecosystem of companies to come build solutions and sell together. We would not exist if APIs did not exist today. And then combine that with ITIL, like, you know, IT lifecycle management philosophies that actually ensure trust and congruity and continuity across companies. Because as we define cross-company workflows, we need those architectures to also happen. So yeah, absolutely fair question, and much needed as we extend processes and data models to go across companies. That means that robustness is required across companies as well.
Nothing to add.
Okay. Excellent. This was a great session.